Howdy folks, Little John here. Today we're going to have a bit of a quick run through just on the process of dry hopping and just a quick look at getting ready for it to make sure you're doing it safely and not going to cause any ill effects to your brew. Today I'm dry hopping the IPA I did earlier in the month. So the first thing I've done is I'm taking a sample, doing a hydro reading, getting a gravity on that just to check where it's at, and that's sitting somewhere around 10, 14. It's a bit hard to tell, right? It might got a little bit of bubble in there, but I'm assuming it's pretty much finished. The airlock was not moving one way or another, and 10, 13 was the expected gravity. So one thing we're looking at with the dry hopping is you want fermentation to be finished, or at the very least to be in the final stages where it's slowing down. There is a belief, and it's fairly well documented, that putting the dry hop in while fermentation is active will drive off some of the aroma, which is part of what, a big part of what the dry hopping is about, getting that aroma and those acids and things in there at that time of the brew to give the effect you're after. So if you're driving it off, then you're effectively reducing the effect. So I'm happy that that brew, I think, has been down now for 7 days. Could be 8. Yeah. I think I did it last Thursday, yeah, so today will be day 8. So that's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty much sitting on 10, 14, so we respect. So obviously I picked my hops, and what I'm going with today is I'm going to go for some Mosaic. I've never actually used Mosaic before. This is the first for me. I've only tried it in 1 or 2 breeds. I haven't been particularly fussed with it, but I think as a dry hop for the aroma, it seems to get a lot of rave reviews. Ooh, smells nice. So I'm looking. I've got a 14 litre batch, so I'm going to do 40 grams of the Mosaic. I'm going to do 40 grams of Galaxy and 20 grams of Citra. So it's going to be fairly fruity. So that's about 100 grams. It's around 7 grams a litre. It's not a massive dry hop. I don't want a massive dry hop on this one. This is just to tag it along. 7 grams is plenty to get the effect I'm after. So we'll just weigh that out. So now, supposedly at this point in your brew, the hops have got a antibacterial, antiseptic sort of properties to them. So there's pretty much a belief that hops aren't going to cause anything bad in your brew throwing them in late. It's always something that's happened for plenty of years. Obviously it's become more popular in recent times, but it's not a new thing. And hops have always been used to preserve beers, so that's their main thing, even before the fact of putting bitterness in. They were used, from historically for IPAs and such to preserve the beer. So they're fine going in. But what you do need to be concerned about is that how you're putting them into the beer itself. Now, in a small quantity, I've got no problem with just throwing them in loose, going commando. They'll settle down with a dry hop and they'll fall out. It won't cause too much problem. But 100 grams there, that's a fair whack of hop that's got to go in there. And just to be on the safe side, I'm going to put them in a hop bag, a hop sock. You can get specific bags, hop socks. You can just use your grain bag if you want. But what I've done here, I've got my hop bag and I've had it boiling in some hot water. So it's, as you can see, it's still fairly nice and hot. And that water's obviously going to help keep my hands clean, which specifically cleaned beforehand as well. And basically it's going to pop the hops into that bag, tie the bag up, and you want it loose. I mean, obviously the hops are going to expand a bit when they're wet, but you want them, you don't want the bag filling up and then, you know, busting or anything like that if you're trying to keep them contained. Now, for the sake of just keep this nice and simple, I'm not going to go through and show you actually popping the hops into the fermenter. But basically, all I've got to do now, pop these pellets in the bag, tie the top off, and just drop it into the top of the fermenter. Just pop it in. Some people do like to stick like a big, yeah, Billy Bonker, or, you know, a stainless steel ball bearing, or even a big heavy washer, you know, something like that that's got a bit of weight in it to help weigh the hops down. And that's probably a good idea if you're not using a real large amount. But 100 grams of hops, once they're wet, they're going to be reasonably heavy. They'll drag themselves under the surface and get the job done. So again, that's something you need to sort of look at when you're going. Of course, if you're going to put anything in that bag, it needs to be, yeah, sanitised. As with everything, yeah, sanitation. Just because these hops, yeah, are antiseptic, doesn't mean we can just ignore sanitation. We still need it, and yeah, obviously while we've boiled the bag. Okay, so as I said, pop them in the bag, tie them in, stick them in the fermenter, pop the lid back on. Obviously, only opening the lid for as long as you need to get them in there, you know, avoiding any risks. And then that can sit in there for, you know, it's up to yourself what you're trying to achieve. I'm going to leave them in there for probably 4 or 5 days, and at which case I will pull the bag out and then I will cold crash this brew. Now it's sitting at brew temperature at the moment, sitting at 18 degrees. Some people like to dry hop while they're cold crashing. Some do it before, some do a combination. But this batch, it's going to go in 4 or 5 days. I'll pull the bag out and then I'll cold crash it for a few days before I keg it up. So that's it. It's a simple process. It's not hard to do. You don't need 100 grams. Let's say this is an IPA. You can dry hop 20 or 30 grams into a you know, into a lager or a draft or even a pale ale. Yeah, and you'll get a nice little bit extra aroma out of it. It'll pick your brew up a little bit. You know, and if you're trying to keep your brewing, yeah, relatively budget conscious, yeah, you don't want to spend too much money, then 20 or 30 grams of hops not gonna kill you. 100 grams of hops, that's starting to get a little bit pricey, and some people aren't going to want to spend that amount of money extra. But again, it depends on what you're after and whether you think it's worthwhile. Everybody has their own opinion. Up until about 18 months ago, I didn't like dry hopping at all. I've learnt to live with it. I've tried it a little bit more. I've played around with it, and I don't do it all the time. I don't dry hop everything. I still only dry hop selected beers, mainly only IPAs, where the style really needs it, or can really benefit from it. But it's up to you what you want to do with it. So I'm going to get on with this. I'm going to let you go. So that's it, dry hopping. So until I see you next time with the next Brew School video, good brewing.